Speaking of uncomfortable, she doesn't want to come here. This is not her jam of meeting new people. So every day so far, 2 days, right? She's come in here. She has to physically be held by somebody. This happens in preschool too, where she knows the teacher, she knows the classroom. She's been there 3 years. And it's become maybe a habit now where she knows, like, she'll lean against my body, she'll grab me, all the things of attaching to me and not going as soon. And I've come into the habit where I'm like, I'm sorry, you're going to have to hold her. Otherwise, she will not let go of me. And then I have to walk out while she's crying. So it's such a hard habit. I don't know how to detach from her. And I have this feeling it's going to just continue into kindergarten as she starts. So that's a concern of mine, is how I'm going to do all the things of warming up to her new teacher. We have meetings scheduled for her to see the new school. But it's become such a habit now where she like knows that before she leaves me, she wants to do this whole grabbing onto me, crying.
So this has become a habit, because I can say in the room, she's fine.
Yeah.
And she's having a great time. I was in there yesterday.
Yeah.
So this is a habit that we have to break, but
Yeah.
you can't put pressure on a little child.
Yeah.
So it's how you also, it's also separation anxiety. That's a process in itself. That's having to deal with that. Because my guess is she's very attached to you in general. And that separation, especially a Monday morning after a holiday, beginning of school, is hard. One is, this is a little bit separate, so I feel like I'm a little off topic, helping her integrate with other individuals when you're not there. So she starts to build her confidence as a person without mommy always navigating everything. Mm-hmm. So maybe you are, and you're like, no, she goes to grandma's, she's out with other people, I drop her off at play dates, that's great. School, for whatever reason, whether it was a specific situation with school, a specific teacher separation, created this habit. Mm-hmm. One thing I would say is, how are you handling that? And you said something to me that I was thinking about is, if she needs a routine, because remember, giving her control in an out of control situation, what is that routine she can do? Whether it's hug mommy 3 times, kiss mommy 3 times, and then let go. How can you navigate it? I'm not saying we need to discuss every aspect of that right now. Mm-hmm. So to give you all these kinds of dealing with separation is, sometimes it's coming up with some routine for the drop off. Okay. Because you not go to school, but there's things we can do to help you feel comfortable. I've had kids have to carry a little stuffy that they carry in the beginning, and then maybe they put it in their backpack, or a little picture of mommy. Lots of things like that. I've had a kid wear a little Band-Aid with a little picture of mommy on his finger. Just something as a step, and eventually, believe me, they're not using it. But a step for you would be talking to your daughter, because she's having a good time. And that's where scaries of 0 to 3 for little guys, or 0 to 5 for older guys, is really talking about it. When we first went, it felt like a 3. But while you were there, you seemed to have fun, mm-hmm. and it probably came down. And so sometimes giving them words for their feelings and helping them realize, oh, it wasn't so scary. So as children are doing their game charts, we often will say, hey, that seemed less scary, or wow, that seemed a little scary. We'll do it different next time. So I think it's really navigating that, because that sounds very habit, mm-hmm. but I love that you already noticed we're going through this thing. And for me, that thing is what I was thinking you need to do, create that ritual for a drop off. And you will be amazed how when she goes through, and then all of a sudden you're like, wait, you forgot the 3rd kiss. And you're making light of it. All of a sudden you start to see the separation. Okay. Sound good?
Yeah. I just wanted to come around to my teacher question.
Yeah.
Which is that my kid has been at the same school since she was 18 months. So this is her 3rd year, I think, in the same school. And my older daughter went all the way through, and I work in the same building. She doesn't have problems separating, but she's going to have the same teacher.
Any sort of pointers you might have on how to shift the dynamic with the same people?
Yeah, no. Are there any?
Is it the same kids? One or two same kids, and some of the kids from the younger class are now moving in. It's a 3-4-year-old class. And now she'll be in.
Does she ever say to you, I don't talk to my teacher?
Yeah.
She does?
Mm-hmm.
How much?
I don't talk at school. I don't talk at school.
And she's not even 4.
She'll be 4 in 2 weeks.
2 weeks. Okay, so she's 4. Almost 4. So I would say, and I don't know the answer to this, how much do you guys talk about talking? How much were you talking about talking?
Not much.
So she's still putting a lot of emphasis on talking. So she feels talking is the end goal. I don't talk in school. Again, remember I was talking yesterday and I'm like, the child that says, I'm 7, I'm going to talk, and everybody like,
She does say things like
yeah,
that.
exactly. They all do. And it's like, all right, let it be. And then when you're 7, we all get everything ready for the child to talk. And they don't, unless they've been working on stuff. I would say so there's a couple things going on. One is you talk about comfort and acknowledge her fear. If a child says, I don't talk in school, what you could say is, you may not be that comfortable yet. We're working on helping you become comfortable. I've tried to shift that word talk, which is the end all be all, the big thing that because maybe it's not you, but maybe it's a teacher in the past. Maybe it's that teacher was very focused on, come on, I know you can talk.
Yeah.
I know I've heard you talk to your mom, things like that. And that might be in your case, because you were just saying that this is another mother, if the people are listening. It's possible that some of her resistance separating is because of that fear of needing to talk in an environment where your child wasn't comfortable talking yet. So I don't know how much that plays in if you're seeing separation issues in other areas, but I've had kids in my practice where there's so much emphasis on talking that they don't want to go to these environments, and it's terrifying because the minute they're separated from their parent, there's that talk, you got to talk, please talk. I'll give you a sticker if you talk. I hate that. If your child is not ready to verbalize, they're not even engaging, they don't have the comfort yet, how can we expect them to talk? To me, one of the reasons these kids are making such progress here is because we give them that connection and comfort, and we literally decrease the expectation in the beginning, but start to do the nonverbals, the handing, the taking, comfort building. We don't force eye contact. It happens when it's natural, unless a child is on the autism spectrum. Then it's like you start to see eye contact's really hard, but that's comfort based. If a child is not comfortable, eye contact is just not there. Once I see the eye contact starting, it's my message. I can look at the child a little more, but I'm not staring a child down in therapy. I'm looking at the game. I'm looking at the goal. I gaze up to the child down, because the more you do that, the lower your expectation. For you, with the question regarding school and the same teacher, what I would say to you is, how can your teacher be educated on the things to do now that maybe she didn't do last year?
Teaching that teacher, having somebody educate your school, whether it's us or somebody else you're working with, do a school training. It's amazing how that school training is so critical. When we first started doing the research, we didn't do the school training. We only treated the parents and the child. And we saw the huge progress so quickly in the world, real world, and at home with the child. But there was very little progress in school until the school was trained. Once we brought the school training in, boom, because they need to be educated. And it's not just your teacher. It's the music teacher, the art teacher, the gym teacher. It's whoever is interacting with your child needs to know what to do and what not to do. And for little kids, sometimes it's as simple as, don't ask open-ended, thought-provoking questions and saying you need to talk. That could be your biggest headache.
Yeah.
It's how do you engage the child through play? How do you ask questions? When do you ask questions? Where? Which leads me to, because everything leads me to something, to talk about when a family says, we have an IEP. We have small groups in the room, small groups out of the room. And Misty, you know what I'm going to say. It's, what are you doing in the small groups? How are you questioning? When are you questioning? Who? You see what I mean? It's not just that you've got small groups. How are you working those small groups? So for me, the number one thing is, one, you're working with your child on all these games and goals, and that you're doing your goals, their games, and your child's going to make progress in all these other areas. That will feed over to school, assuming this teacher has some education, and then training your teacher in the proper way. Okay. And if there's another teacher in this class that's new, maybe focus a little more on that teacher so it's not as conditioned as it is with your main teacher.
It's two of them that tag team, and they were both in the last year.
Okay. The good news is your child's young enough, and children that are little tend to bounce real quickly, much easier than the older kids.